Good morning. Trying to replant that pollinator garden around the front tree.
I probably don't need to explain to you the multiple environmental disasters that are currently ongoing, but it is safe to say that there are many things to be stressed about, and sometimes it feels like there's nothing you can do to make a difference. The one thing that I found that brings me peace and allows me to have a positive benefit on my environment is gardening. If you love gardening, or even if you're just starting out, there's one thing that you can do right from your home that will have a big impact for nature right now, and that is planting native plants. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Raina, and I'm passionate about nature, the outdoors, cooking from scratch, and growing your own food. Today, we'll be talking about why we need native plants. They're awesome, you'll love them, and how to get started with your first pollinator garden. All right, let's get into it. I decided that I needed to make native plants a major focus of my garden this year after reading Doug Tallamy's Bringing Nature Home and listening to a few of the lectures that he gave via the OSU Extension office. I will link those below for those who are curious, but the TLDR is that insects are the foundation of our planet because they can convert energy from plants into energy that's accessible by all other beings. They pollinate our food crops, and they are the food for many of the other living beings that are higher up on the food chain. Insects cannot survive on their own without the native plants that they co-evolved with in our specific growing region to be able to survive. One of the most well-known examples of this is the monarch butterfly. I have such vivid memories from my childhood of seeing those gorgeous orange and black butterflies flying all around, and this year I really haven't seen hardly any. You see, monarchs have a special relationship with the plant milkweed. It is the only plant that they can lay their eggs on, and they cannot survive without it. Sadly, our monarchs were listed as endangered last year by the IUCN, so they're not doing great. But the amount of grassroots support and collective action that I've seen from whole cities creating pollinator pathways to everyday gardeners planting milkweed in their gardens is just truly awe-inspiring. When we work together, the impact of our combined efforts is so much greater, which is why I really want to encourage you to plant some native plants in your space too. So, I first had the idea to create a pollinator garden beneath a large tree in my front yard a few months ago. I had two reasons for this. One, I really wanted to reduce the size of our lawn because grass provides very little ecological benefit, and because the less that grass that's there, the less you have to mow. These walls are evidence of insects using the bottom of this tree as nesting ground. Secondly, I learned this year that many species of moths and butterflies use trees to place their eggs, and many caterpillars hang out in trees. So the space underneath trees is really important to protect for wildlife. I originally created this bed by cutting up cardboard boxes and laying them out on the ground in a circular pattern to kill the grass underneath. Then I added soil on top and a few plants I got from my local garden center. It looked great for a few days. Then I promptly got busy with life and other garden projects and didn't water it for about 2 weeks, and all the plants died.
This was a project that is, I'll say, still in progress. I planted some phlox here. This was the section that I laid down the cardboard and put the flowers in over top. The flowers did not survive very well. I think because they're so shallowly planted, the roots weren't really able to get enough water, and so a lot of them dried out. So it did serve the purpose of keeping down most of the weeds. There's really hardly any weeds in this section, so I'm happy about that. And it looks like maybe 2 of the phlox are still alive. They've got some green. So I think I'm going to continue to try to build up the soil in this area, and maybe later in the season when it's less hot, add some more flowers.
If you are considering converting a section of your lawn into pollinator garden, you can start the same way by laying down cardboard, wetting it with a hose, adding soil or rocks to weigh it down, and wait for a few weeks to kill the grass underneath. Learn from my mistake here. It's best to build up your soil first and allow some of the cardboard to start to break down before adding your new plants. Also, it helps if you remember to water. With new energy, I decided to go back to the store and get more soil and mulch to refresh the beds and replant the native plants underneath the tree. Finding native plants at the store was a lot harder than I thought. My local garden center didn't have a native plant section, and the employees I asked were not very helpful or knowledgeable about specific species of plants that would do well as ground cover for my front garden bed under the tree. I pretty much heard, "No, we don't have that." And that was it. I was able to find some butterfly weed, echinacea or coneflower, and bee balm. I planted those in my yard, and they are looking beautiful.
Alright, first, let's do current status. This, which I think is a part of the phlox, but I'm not sure, survived from my first planting. And there's 2 of them. And I put some new phlox in. That's what this green is here. These are also phlox. And then just a lot of grass and weeds. Let's get to work.
The plant section in my garden center was very limited. What native plants they did have were cultivated varieties like this echinacea plant, which I now know are bred and sometimes changed to be more beautiful for humans, such as making them have different colors or flower shapes, which makes them less advantageous for the most specialized insects. Although I was disappointed to learn this and I felt like I'd wasted my money buying these plants, I know that any level of plant diversity greater than the turf grass that was there before will be an improvement, and that native pollinator gardens usually take many years to be fully established. This was a great start, and I'm determined to keep this one growing. I was discouraged, but I went to ask some friends for ideas and I learned about an upcoming plant sale at one of our nearby metro parks. So far this year, the most successful native flowers that I've planted have come from these native plant sales at our local parks. Our local park systems in Northeast Ohio are phenomenal. If you have any Metro Park systems near where you live, I would check there first for resources. Also, our Ohio State Extension Office has a Master Gardeners program that does a ton of programs all over the region, and they can answer specific questions through an online Q&A form. If you reach out to your local parks or state extension office, they may be able to point you in the direction of good native plant nurseries or even give you tips for starting a successful pollinator bed in your garden. Now for the area where there's the most work to be done. This is where we planted our beautiful eastern redbud tree. But beneath it, kind of looking not great. So I was trying to use the cardboard method to suppress the grass and the weeds. It is not working, so we're going to go in with some landscape fabric and some mulch. hope that I have encouraged you to think about adding some native plants into your landscape, and that in watching my journey, you're able to pick up a few tips to make it easier for you in planning your first pollinator garden. You might not be able to find everything you need at the big box stores, but if you look for resources in your local gardening networks like parks or state extension offices, you'll likely be able to find what you need. If you live in Ohio or Zone 6 in the eastern United States, and you'll probably need some of the same type of plants that I need, I'll share some of the links for resources that I've found helpful, and perhaps that can guide you as well. I'll also share one of my June garden tours where I show off both my flower gardens and my veggie gardens, which you can feel free to watch that one next. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and comment below. Let me know if you are doing a pollinator garden this year, what plants have been successful for you. I'd like to get a conversation going in the comments. You can subscribe to my channel for updates, as I may have more flowers to add later in this season as I'm checking out these native plant sales. Happy gardening. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.